What's up, beautiful souls? Welcome back to another episode of the Soul of Media podcast, where we dive deep into the realms of personal growth, spirituality, raising the vibration of the masses, and yes, a sprinkle of ratchetness for all my ladies in the back. All right, hello. Welcome back, beautiful souls, to the Soul of Media podcast. I'm your host, Soulful T, and here we talk about everything with spirituality, raising the vibration, and just getting to know yourself on a deeper, more spiritual level. So today, as you can see, we have such a special guest with us today. I'm so excited to dive into her journey, her story, and all that she's been through, and how she's using her gifts to raise the vibration of the masses. So, Supriya, welcome to the Soul of Media podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't wait to have this conversation with you because we kind of already talked, but you've been through so much in your life and so many transformations. So I had to have you on here to tell the audience about all that you've been through and all that you do. So please tell us more about your background.
Yeah, so when I was like 12 years old, my mom had her own spiritual awakening, and which led her to becoming a psychic medium and then a Reiki healer. And that's where I learned the world of chakras and what psychic is, like the definitions of psychic and everything. I didn't quite learn a whole lot about empath and all of that stuff until later on. I don't actually think my mom even knew what an empath was,
Hmm.
even though she embodied that entire word of an empath.
Yeah.
So, yes, so I basically began my journey, spiritual journey, when I was 12 years old. I had several iterations in my life. And I think about 2020 and 2021 was when I really had my second, I would say my second awakening. No, that was actually my third. Sorry. That was my third awakening. My
Oh wow.
second awakening was in 2017.
Okay.
And that was an interesting story. That's an interesting story because that was when I actually I think I just moved to the Atlanta area at the time.
Hmm.
And I'm originally from the Midwest, and I came to the Atlanta area for a job. Um, and that was when when I was falling asleep, I was astral projecting. I was astral projecting consistently when I was over at that particular apartment.
Okay, now
Um,
for my
yeah.
audience, because we're still newbies in the kind of spiritual realm,
Mhm.
can you explain what astral projection is?
Certainly. Astral projection, or lucid dreaming, is when you are awake in your
Mm,
dream and you
mm,
travel around. Sometimes you're conscious of your traveling, oftentimes you're not. Sometimes you will dream that you're in one place, and sometimes you're awake in your dream and you can explore. One time I was astral projecting, and the moment where I felt myself going outside my body, I actually felt another entity trying to enter my body.
Oh, wow.
Um, yes. I
That's
felt
scary.
another entity entering my body.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of people that think that, there's a lot of people out there that think like, oh, that's just psychological, that's not in your. I was just like, no, unless you kind of experience this, you really don't know what it's
Hmm.
like. I did have another entity like entering my body. And some people might say it's a demonic entity. Some people might say it's it was just a ghost. It was just like something. I would just say it was another entity, what, like, entering my body. Um,
Because our
and it was
bodies are kind of like portals, right? Like, so
right.
when we leave, our actual spirit leaves, it kind of leaves it open for other entities to enter if we're not careful.
Yes,
Mhm.
correct.
Okay.
And when you sleep, that's exactly what happens. That's
Mhm.
exactly what happens. Your body just goes into another dimension. So I felt my body. So while I was astral projecting, I felt that space. Um, when you enter, it was that in between space. There was another entity entering my body, like in this space. And I woke up, and it was one of those things. I woke up in a cold sweat, and I was just like, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't know what was, and it was one of those things where I fell asleep and it would keep happening.
Mm.
It would actually, it wasn't stopping. So I actually caught, like, the second time, it happened, the second time, like, I went to sleep, my, I called upon, like, the archangels and my guides, my spirit guides, to help me. And then I think on the third time, like, they actually sent them away. Like, it worked. Like, whatever they did worked. They sent them away. So I think it was that day on, I took some sage, I put it towards my home, and I think the next day I saw, um I saw, like, something on my doorstep.
Mm.
When I was dreaming, I was doing the astral projection, and I saw this Native American shaman, and I forgot. It's actually a tarot card. It's the exact image of, like, this tarot card that I saw. I think it was White Feather. I think that's the name. White Feather
Oh, okay.
is that name. So, and it looked like he was blessing the home, blessing the home.
Like one of
So
your
I
spirit
did
guides.
put, yeah. So it's I don't know if you've ever seen that specific tarot card that said White Feather, but I couldn't, I only saw this guy's image, this person's image, and it was the exact same image as that card, White Feather. So it's so funny because I've also gotten readings from other people where I had a dream of the card. So, like, I saw, like, a window going, and I was going through this purple window into a hole, into, like, this hole, and that was what the tarot card was. Window to the soul.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
yeah.
Now, so you're deeply
So,
connected already.
yes. So, yeah, and yeah, so that's what happened. I began, like, and that's really, I would say that was really when my journey began. Um, and was with in 2017. Now in 2001, it happened, and of course, that's when I learned about everything, and all of this stuff. Actually, my friend, my parents were friends with a psychic. My parents were friends with a psychic,
Mm-hmm.
that owned her own fair. And she actually asked me at one point,
Mm-hmm.
do you want to work at this fair? And at the time, I mean, I didn't have a job before then. At the time,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what, 14, 15 years old,
Yeah.
at the time. My dad simply said, your first job is not going to be a psychic at a fair. Sorry.
It's like no
So
carnival freaks over here, okay? Get you a real job. But little
So
did
it's
you
like,
know.
no, you're gonna be a cashier. You're gonna be a cashier at the local mart over there.
Mhm.
You're not gonna. Your first job is not gonna be you at a psychic fair,
That would
like
have been
working
so
at a psychic.
aligned. Like it would have been just so aligned with everything that
Yeah,
you already
exactly,
do.
exactly. Because she actually told she actually told my parents, your daughter's good enough to work in my fair. So that, and she says, and she actually said that, and I was like, oh, I'll think about it. My dad was just like, no,
Mhm.
your first job is not going to be at a fair. So yeah, like, but I did learn the art of meditation, and, like, meditation and all these other things, and chakras, and that's when I first learned chakras, was around that age, like 12 to 14. That's when I learned about
Mhm.
meditation. I only knew about meditation in one way, though. I really didn't know that there was other forms up until, I don't know, 2014, 2015, like 10 years ago, I would say. There was other forms of meditation. There and and that's when my eyes really opened up, and by the time in 2017 came around, I was like, okay, let me, like, look into this a little bit more. So I got laid off in 2019, And I did get another contract job, and that didn't work out. And then, I've been going back and forth between my business and all of that for a while. So in about 2020, 2021, that was when I had my second awakening. Um, and that was when I realized I should be doing other things. I should be just doing, because my business was a social media marketing agency. That was my business in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
2017, that's what it was. In 2020, I did change the name. Actually, right before COVID happened, I changed my name
Hmm.
to the business name, from SPB Productions to the Spirit Digital. And I I it was funny because I was just like, I didn't know that the Spirit Digital would become, when I changed my name, it was just going to be me focusing on spiritual entrepreneurs, on their digital marketing. And then it slowly became me coaching. So,
It's funny
and
how the
of course,
universe does it, right? It's like you think you're doing
yeah,
one thing, but we're actually lining you up for what you're really
yeah.
supposed to be doing. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, they were aligning me to people like that worked in law of attraction and that worked in like all these other things, and that's when I started to get into law of attraction and
Mm-hmm.
astrology, human design, things like that. I
Yeah.
started to get into all of those things. And when I got into those things, that's when I realized, I was like, I'd rather just be doing this instead of like doing social media for people.
Yeah.
And that was when kind of things started consecutively happening. So I delved into manifestation, law of attraction, all these other things, and then it slowly started to become a part of my business. And I did incorporate energy healing, but it wasn't Reiki. It was something else I was doing. It was something that I learned from my mom.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
it was something that I learned from my mom, and that's when I was doing. But I didn't get my Reiki certification until 2022,
Okay.
and then that's when I started incorporating Reiki into my practice that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to incorporate mediumship, and I started to incorporate like getting intuitive downloads, all that stuff. And then in 2021, October, well, late September, early October 2021, I went on a trip to Tulum, Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually got the download to do business chakras there. Um,
Wow.
and the download actually went, and I still remember this to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the download actually went, did you know that your business has chakras too?
Mm. That's
And
so specific.
yeah, and then and then they were saying, well, the root chakra is about your revenue, like the solar plex is about your offer, and
Mm.
how well you are, basically how unique your offer is.
Mm-hmm.
And solar plexus is sales, heart chakra is the love and empathy, and how well you're filling your own cup versus another's, with your clients or your customers. Throat chakra is communications and marketing. Third eye is all about, well, it's all about your intuition, how
Mm-hmm.
intuitive you are with your business.
Yeah.
But it's also about how well can you project in your business.
Hmm.
Um, and your crown, well, it's your crown is your connection to source, but it's also your connection to your mission, to your mission
Mm.
statement.
Wow.
So
Okay. Okay. So let's back up a minute because I didn't even know that your business could have chakras. But let's back up to just the regular chakras that we know because you do that too as well, right? Like you do chakra reading, clearing, and unblocking chakras. So can you just talk a little bit about chakras, what they are, what all of their functions are, and then like how you help with clearing them out?
yeah, sure. It's actually called chakras, and I always say
Chakra.
like it's Chuck Norris. It's Chuck
Oh,
Norris will punch
chakra.
you.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna make like a shirt that says Chuck Norris will punch you out for saying chakras.
Excuse me, that's my my Western United States kind of accent, but
No,
yes,
it's I mean, it's
chakras.
okay. It's
Chakra.
totally okay. But like it's just I mean, honestly, my friend Dr. AJ, she actually came up with that idea
Mm.
for Chuck Norris. So Chuck Norris, like that's how you pronounce chakras. So chakras are like there's actually different chakras in the body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's this wonderful diagram that I saw about how energy flows in the body,
Mm.
and these different where they're cross and the when the energy crosses, um it's known as nadi, but when multiple energies cross is known as a chakra.
Hmm.
So chakras are in your hands, they're in all these other places, but the more important ones are in your or in the energy centers. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the seven chakras that we talk about. And actually the Reiki master who attuned me,
Mm-hmm.
she actually works with 13 chakras.
I've heard there's more than just
So
the seven that we have.
yeah,
Yeah, I've heard there's more.
yeah, there's like six or seven outer body,
Mhm.
outside the body chakras that you have.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't work with those. I work with the seven. I do work with the seven. But if we're talking about the other chakras in the body, you can say that I work with the hands and I work with the lower back and all of that stuff,
Okay.
that are in the bodies too. So that there's also different energy centers. There's actually ancient drawings about how there were originally five chakras. So these two chakras right here were combined, the solar plexus and the sacral. Not sacral,
Mm-hmm.
solar plexus and the
And the
heart
heart,
chakra
yeah.
were actually combined into one. And then these two some of them also combined those, as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, like when we're talking about it, we're talking about really ancient stuff talking about. And actually the rainbow system and the chakras that we know today, that was like brought into the Western world, that was actually from a man named Christopher Hill.
Hmm.
In 1970s, in the 1970s, by a man named Christopher Hill.
Oh, that
So
wasn't that long ago.
yeah, yeah. So the chakras, and this is the guy that came up with the rainbow system and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
like what you see in my background, it's from that guy.
Okay.
So yeah, like chakras are really really important, to figuring out like if and you can figure out which chakra is blocked based on how you feel, what is going on in your life, and how you're thinking, basically. So, if you're feeling not as confident today, if you have been feeling low and not confident and just feeling lethargic,
Mm-hmm.
it could be a block in your sacral and
Mm-hmm.
in your solar plexus. If you don't have a lot of revenue flowing, or if you're moving homes or something like that is happening, there's a major block in your root chakra.
Yeah, because it's
If
like for
you are,
security.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's security, stability.
Yeah.
If you have like an issue speaking up, speaking out, in any situations, but this could go in business or relationships
Mm-hmm.
too. That's throat chakra.
Yeah.
So if you feel like if you have a lot of doubt in your intuition, that's a third eye block, So like each chakra does represent a different part of what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I find when I read people's chakras, because I do read chakras as well,
Yeah.
it's almost always a lower chakra block. At least one or two chakras is blocked in
Mm.
people. Lower
The
chakras
lower
is
chakras.
blocked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So whenever I see that, that is when I know like there is something that's actually rocking maybe their stability, but maybe their emotions so hard that they can't really focus.
Mm-hmm.
So, by the way, if your root is blocked, there is not a lot you can do with the other chakras. Because if and that because here's the thing, that is your the root is your foundation. So think about it. If your foundation in your house is crumbling, what's going to happen with the rest of the house?
All right, it's all gonna
You
fall
know?
down. Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to make first, foremost, and everything, you need to make sure that your foundation is stable before you work on anything else. Because
Mm-hmm.
if your foundation is not stable, if it's cracked or if it's crumbling in any way, and I always say root chakra also represents it represents your income, yes, your financial, yes, but it also represents spouse, partner, anybody else, children
Yeah.
in your life. It also represents your physical home. It represents food, even if you're eating adequately and stuff like that. It
Mm-hmm.
represents some physical things as well. So, if any of those things are rocked, and if you don't have that solid foundation, it's going to affect your other chakras. And they're always going to, at least one or two of them are always going to be a little bit blocked because your root chakra is very blocked. So
Hmm.
that's something that you have to think of when you're
Yeah.
thinking of your
Yeah, and it's
um
so important because we're not taught these things growing up or in school or anything. We know nothing about energy centers and how it throws us
right.
off. But just imagine if we had this knowledge, how better,
Yeah.
well off people could be, in their lives. And, also where, some people who have mental the abilities, things that's going on with their mental, and they just automatically give them medicine or drugs or anything like that, but there's something else deeper going on, under the surface, but they're not giving us the tools to kind of like actually heal ourselves. So that's really good to learn more about the chakras and how they like basically control like what's going on in your life, and you can tell by your external life. Right, like you
Mhm.
can tell like if something's blocked, if something's not right, you can see it manifest physically pretty quickly.
Yes.
So yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yes. Yes, yes. And like I said, like if you have a chakra that is blocked, you kind of have to look at the surrounding chakras around it.
Mm,
And there's a lot of things that you can do as well to basically and a lot of people who are health experts and all that stuff like would also refer to the chakras as well to like, oh, you can eat a red food to work with the root chakra. And that I would say to that, that's a yes and a no
mm,
to that because yeah, it helps, but no, it's not going to help if you don't recognize the emotional patterns
right.
behind that.
Yeah, you kind of have to get to the root, the root, no pun intended, of the issue,
Correct. Yeah.
instead of
Correct.
just like
That's
eating it
exactly
like
it.
a temporary fix type of thing.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And I would say like yeah, a lot of people's I would say root and sacral are probably the more common ones I see blocked. Um and by the way, like there's also an imbalance is also too much of something. And but very rarely do I see somebody's too much of something in the lower. And I actually saw too much of a solar plexus one time
Hmm.
in a man, and like that tells me that this man gets cocky at times. It's overly confident.
It's a
This
little
man
overly
so I
confident.
actually told him, be careful about your arrogance, your confidence becoming arrogant. And like 2 days later, he said he got in trouble for it.
Oh wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
he
you
got in
definitely
trouble
called
for
that out.
yes. So the one of the chakras that I see that are overextended or exploded or blown out is the heart. I think I
Mhm.
see that in almost everyone I ever gave a reading
Really?
to. Yeah. It's a huge problem, and it's almost one of those things where it's like I should do something based on this because of how many people I've read and how many, like, what the blown out heart chakra looks like, and not only what the blown out heart chakra looks like, but what can you do to fix it.
Yeah.
um
So what does it mean when the heart chakra is blown? Like what's happening in their lives and what can you do to heal it and kind of get it back aligned?
yeah, so here's the thing. Whenever I see somebody's heart chakra blown out, it's almost always because they're probably an empath themselves. They're
That makes
probably an
sense.
empath,
That makes a lot
and
of sense.
they don't know how to control that energy,
Mm,
and they're probably attracting. If I see it, because there's different types of blown out. I see a somewhat of a blown out, which is just, you know, it just circulates. It's just a little bit over the heart, which to me, that's fine. It's fine, but I would say just be a little bit wary about your boundaries. Now, if it's a heart chakra that's blown out to their shoulders, and sometimes I actually seen it blown out to their arms,
mm-hmm.
that means you have a lot of people around you that either sucking the energy from you, that are
Mm-hmm.
energy vampires that are
Yep.
sucking the energy from you,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not giving anything back to yourself.
Wow.
Really, that's what that means. And it, to me, that signifies a leakage in your life, that
Hmm.
somebody, your energy is leaking into your life, and you don't know how to say no to somebody, and how to actually give back to yourself and save and preserve that some of that energy to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
So
so is that a way to heal it? Basically, kind of like working on your boundaries and like calling
yes,
your energy or calling your power back to yourself so that
correct,
you can align that energy of your heart. Because I'm a
yes,
recovering people pleaser myself, I will say. And I feel like I had that issue as well because, you just want to be liked, you want to be liked, you want people to accept you, but it feels like you're overextending yourself and you don't feel good at the end of the day. You don't feel like people actually care about you more than like the as much as you care about other people's opinion. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that I have to work on myself. I think you told me that I had a leakage in my heart. I'm like, oh, I gotta work on my
yeah,
boundaries. But I'm
yeah.
glad you told me that because it definitely gave me some more perspective of like, okay, I need to have boundaries with my friends, my kids, my husband, because I felt like if you go with the flow and there's no friction, then everybody'd be fine, but not necessarily. Right? Like not
Yes.
necessarily. I'm getting the end of the stick at the end of the day. So yeah, that's really important though for people to know that because you're the one that has to suffer after you extend yourself to all these people.
Oh, exactly. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm a recovering people pleaser myself, and here's the thing: when you aren't serving anybody when you're serving everybody.
Mhm.
At the
Mhm.
end of the day,
Mhm.
and when you're serving everybody, and the last person you're serving is yourself, um, that's an issue.
Yeah, so you're
That's an
getting the
issue.
crumbs, like the
Yeah.
leftovers.
Exactly. And if you're not filling your own cup first, and that's something I had to learn myself, and I can
Mhm.
say this in the past 2 or 3 years, to start filling your own cup first. I mean, I let myself sleep late, because sleep, and this is what I always say, like one of the best ways to get your energy back is to allow yourself to sleep more. Because I
Mm.
guarantee you there's going to be a lot of people like listening to this that are going to say that are probably getting 6 hours or less of sleep every night.
Man,
Um
you ain't lying.
and I
I need
used to
more
be one of those
sleep.
people.
I need more sleep.
Yep.
So,
And let me tell, I used to be one of those. I used to wake up at 5 a.m., believe it or not, every day. I used to wake up at 5 a.m. every day to go to the gym. And I would go to the gym, I would work out, come back home. I used to be a little machine. I was a little machine. And like, to be honest, I did not think of, I just, like, my brain just went into this mode where I'm like, okay, doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this every single day. Okay, I would work here, but then I'll work on my business, take discovery calls, work from 5 to 9, work from 5 to 9, and then, take a discovery call, then take a, like all this, and then work till 10 or 11 at night, and then go back and just do the same thing all over again. Um, every morning. And
I'm
sometimes I'll take a
exhausted
discovery
just
call.
listening to it.
I know, like I was a machine. I was a machine, and it really kept going that way up until up until like 2020 or 2021. Up until like I had enough. I really had enough of that workplace, like, and I just said enough is enough. And
Hmm.
I think I slept for 10 hours or 12 hours one day.
That's beautiful.
And
Unheard
that
of.
and I was just like, oh my God, I don't think I've been sleeping. And it really wasn't until 2022 that I have that I was told by a health coach that I'm like, well, your nervous system is never going to do that well unless you get a full 8 hours of sleep. And I was just like, wait a minute, I'm fine. I do 5 hours of sleep and I'm fine. And she's like, what?
Well, they really
and she,
stress that. I don't think people take it as serious as they should. Like they say
yeah,
you need that. That's like a necessity for you to function.
yeah. Like sleep is one of those things, and grounding yourself is another.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been doing a lot of grounding recently, but what I have been doing is I've been doing a lot of salt baths, like actual,
Mm.
not just Epsom salt baths. And I do put Epsom salt, but I also put pure
Himalayan,
Himalayan
yeah.
salt
Himalayan salt's good
in
too.
my, and I just soak. I just sit there and I soak.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I will work with, if you gardening is so wonderful for that grounding experience.
Yeah.
If you garden and all. So if you do garden, that is just wonderful. Putting your feet into the ocean, if you're by an ocean,
Mm-hmm.
um, putting your feet into an ocean would be great for grounding. And that just helps calm, all of that stuff calms your nervous system.
Yeah.
So, and that's good for your root chakra and and your sacral and your solar plexus. Those
Yeah.
are all good for the lower chakras. So I always tell people, whenever I see those dimmed lights, that's how I see them. I see them as dimmed lights
Mm-hmm.
on those chakras if they're blocked. So whenever I see them, and I'm like, how when was the last time you grounded yourself into the earth?
Mm.
And a lot of people say, I have never done that. Or it's
I
been
even
months since I
right. They don't even know that that's a thing. I learned about grounding when I was pregnant with my daughter, 11 years ago, and the lady just randomly told me we were at the park, and she was like, "Take those shoes off. Put your feet in that grass. You need to be grounded. That's going to help your body. It's going to help your baby." I was like, "Grounding? I've never heard of that." And I looked it up. I was like, "Oh, it's like scientifical. Like it's a real thing. Like." I started doing it and I absolutely love it. I have to be by some kind of grass, some kind of trees, something. And I'm so grateful now we have a backyard. And so I go in my backyard, I ground, I sit, I meditate, I do some sun gazing. I try when I'm trying to burn my eyeballs out. But I definitely have grounding as part of my like kind of spiritual routine because it is so just like relaxing and just so like comforting, because you feel supported, like you feel like you're supported by Mother Nature, like Mother Earth, like she's there for you. So yeah, grounding helps a lot, a lot. I love grounding.
Yeah, grounding is so good. It's so good for you. And yeah, I mean, like I said, like actually, I mean, I live in Georgia, so like it's the times I want to ground myself, it like the mosquitoes come out. The mosquitoes come out
Yeah,
and like
those
all of that
mosquitoes.
stuff.
But peppermint oil helps.
Yes, peppermint oil is good. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, of course. But honestly, in those times, I'm like, if you have a wooden deck and you just put yourself in bare feet on your wooden deck,
True.
you can even hug a tree. You can hug a tree for 5 minutes. That's also grounding too.
Yeah.
Like, literally hug a tree, lean against a tree for 5 minutes.
Hmm.
You can do that too. You can also grounding mats are expensive, but if you can afford one, you can do it.
I
A
never
grounding
heard of
mat will
those
work.
grounding mats.
Yeah, you can look them up. They're on Amazon. You can get them on Amazon. I think they're like 97. What the last one I heard, it's like 97, $100. I have no
What's
idea.
on it? Like what do they have
Yeah.
in it?
They just put the same type of vibrations that are in like the soil, because they measure like the vibrations like in the soil and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just mimic it. They mimic the what's in there, and you'll get the same effects.
That's
So,
interesting.
and there's actually grounding sheets as well, so you can put them on while you go to sleep.
Grounding
um
sheets.
yeah.
Well, they're getting fancy now.
Yeah. So you could have that if you're in a state where you really can't go outside a whole lot. Um and I understand, like, cuz if it rains, you obviously can't do it. Although I will say, if it rains, put your feet, if you want to, you can put your feet into a rain puddle. Put
Mm-hmm.
your feet into a rain. I've done this before. Wonderful results. Wonderful results. So think about what children do. Children
Yeah,
play in
they
rain
played
puddles
in
all the time.
puddles, mud, all the things, and they didn't get
Yeah,
sick. They didn't get sick.
yeah,
They were fine.
exactly. Like, you didn't get sick. Like, even back in the day, like, kids would just play bare feet all the time in
Yeah,
grass.
yeah, that's
They would
true.
play all the time. I played bare feet too in the grass too. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
I did that all the time. I put my bare feet into rain puddles from time to time. I used to do all that stuff. But it's almost like you need to be incorporating play into your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Incorporating that play and that feel, and being like the free spirit that you were as a kid,
Yeah.
um into your life. And that's what this is all about. That's what this is all about, like, reconnecting you. The chakras are reconnecting you to what your past selves are. Usually when there's a block, I and the way I see them, I actually see the attachment of
Mm.
what the blockage is.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's an attachment to their childhood, it's an attachment to what their beliefs were. So, for example, if there's like a blockage in their solar plexus,
Mm-hmm.
I would see, well, the first time I felt unconfident was at the age of 10. So,
So it's like that's where
and
it
that's,
started.
yeah. So, and that's where I work with people. I work with that on the very beginning, and going through all of those issues from the very beginning, the very start.
Mm-hmm.
And because and I don't disregard modern medicine at all. I don't disregard it. I think it can help people, but the thing is that there's a lot of stuff modern medicine is just not addressing, and things like chakras, things
Yeah.
like Ayurveda, things like all of this stuff that you know I feel like modern medicine should almost catch up with,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. Um, and there's a lot, like, way back in the day, chakras were talked about as if, like, that's how people, when people identified a chakra block, that's how people found out about illnesses, in the body, because that's how
Mm.
they related to them. So it's almost like we just disconnected from that part
Yeah.
of ourselves.
Yeah,
So,
but now we need to be reconnected. We're coming back
mhm.
to the roots of all these different things. And many spiritual teachers like yourself are spreading that information and knowledge so people can know about it, because it's a new day. It's a new day. It's a new age. We're in a new age right now. And it's like, now it's time for the really to get the healing that we need, so that we all can kind of be on this higher vibration, because that's where we're going, right? That's where we're going. It's higher
Yeah.
vibration and having more consciousness, awareness of our bodies and what's happening and what's going on with this. So yeah, that's beautiful. Like we need more information about this and people to want to know about these things, because I know they're tired of, taking all the vices and taking all the other things that you're trying to cover it up instead of just getting to the root. And so you can be a happy, healthy person like you're supposed to be. But yeah, Supriya, thank you so much for coming on today. You give me so much information. I have to write down some notes because I have to check this out after this call. A lot of the different things, but please give the people
Yeah.
your information on where they can maybe follow you if they want to sign up for your services, and any
Yeah.
advice that you want to give the audience.
Yeah, so you can follow me. I am at Supriya, Supriya .digital, digital, on everywhere. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. You can just look. It's in / at Supriya Prasad. And I'm on YouTube as well at Supriya.digital as well. And you can also email me, Supriya at Supriya Prasad, SUPRIYAPRASAD.com as well. And if there's one thing I want to leave people with, is that you are in control of your own body. You're in control of your own soul and your own energy. And anything that like is outside of you, you can't really control. So what you can control is your own energy and your own chakras, and you can totally heal those.
Yes.
While you can't heal anybody around you, you can't really heal anybody around you. You can heal yourself
Yes.
with that.
Yes, that's so awesome. Thank you so much. We'll definitely be doing something else in the future, collaborating. And thank you for
Yeah.
coming on today. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you for
Bye.
having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Soul of Media podcast. Please share the podcast with your friends, family, anyone who you think can get enlightenment from this podcast. Oh, and also join the High Vibe Tribe on Facebook and our Facebook group. And if you want to know when the next episode will be dropping, join the Soul Tribe texting group. Just text Soul Tribe at 844-751-1267. All right, y'all. Just remember, you are magnificent, here to shine your divine light. So stay hydrated, motivated, and elevated. Peace.